Seriously?
Yeah.
Ship down in Baltimore, lost power, and issued a mayday before hitting the bridge.
Where's this from?
I was wondering how it would just crash into.
Leo's across the street on Airport Road. It's a little. Yeah.
A little market. A little market.
Yeah.
It's good.
Labor Council's above. I swear.
Oh,
okay. I didn't know where you're at. Yeah. Bread is excellent. It is excellent. Yeah, it's really good. Bread is really.
That ain't me.
I'll let them know.
All right. I automatically have to go to the biggest pills.
Onions again. Accoutrements are a bit.
It's the onions.
Definitely onions. Is there a secure Wi-Fi?
Oh, yeah. What's that? For Wi-Fi.
We only need public.
Plan.
Okay, the public one, or do you need it secured?
I can get one.
Okay, if everybody could take their seats, please. Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, thank you, Colin. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the March 26, 2024 board meeting of the Lehigh Northampton Airport Authority Board of Governors. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Rick, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Paul Anthony,
I'm here.
Ann Baum,
Here.
Robert Brooks,
Here.
Frank Facciano,
Here?
Dawn Godshaw,
Present.
Ricky Gower,
Here.
Justin Grimshaw,
Here.
John Hayes,
Here.
Ron Heckman, Larry Hemberger,
Here.
James Irwin, Glenn Reedman,
Present.
Mike Stershik,
Here.
Jonathan Strauss,
Here.
Chris Worley.
Here.
We have a quorum?
Okay, thank you, Sylvette. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Before we move to Jeff Matzkin and the service award, I'd like to take a couple of minutes to introduce a new board member at the table, Ricky Gower from Truist Bank. Ricky is replacing Jeff after, I think, just shy of 10 years, Jeff. You missed it by about a month and a half.
Well, I'm still on that.
Very good. So, Ricky, if you'd take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself, please.
Sure, John, thank you. I just met Jeff walking in, and I understand I have some big shoes to fill, so I'm very happy to join the group here. I really appreciate the warm welcome. Had the chance to spend a little bit of time with Tom and his team on Friday, and you all have some really, really exciting things happening here at the airport, and it's really an honor for me to be a part of the group, and really a testament to all of your leadership. As John shared, I'm with Truist. I've been there maybe going on 22 years. Lifelong Lehigh Valley resident. And so, as I've shared with many of you around, just a huge supporter of the airport and what you do, and I appreciate your confidence in me and look forward to working together.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. Let's take just a couple of seconds to go around the horn, Ricky, so you know who everyone is. We'll start with the gentleman on your left, who I believe you know.
I do.
Frank?
Frank Facciano, sorry, Tony. And I just left him, and he knew where I was coming. Frank Facciano, I'm the COO with the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm in my second term here on this board, love it. I just kind of mimic what Ricky said about the operation and how well it's run and what a great board this is.
So Paul Anthony, IBW 375. I know Ricky from the chamber for a few years, and just welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Justin Grimshaw, Local 375. I am not going to kiss up to anybody, so I'm just going to stop there. I'm not Frank.
Nobody?
I'm not Frank. Well, maybe you. You pay my paycheck.
Not hardly. Not hardly.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Markheim. I'm a lawyer with the law firm Florio Perucci. We serve as solicitor to the airport. I've been working on airport matters for a little over 6 years now.
Okay. John Hayes, CEO, New Tripoli Bank.
Tom Stout, Executive Director, great to meet you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Sylvette Riggy, recording secretary to the board.
Mike Starshik, I just began my second 5-year term.
That's great.
John Strauss.
Larry Hamburger, former employee of the airport. This is my 10th year on the board.
Great.
Larry is our historian.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Glenn Reedman, and I'm retired. Yeah, I was a county executive.
Great, yes.
That was my
I remember you.
claim to fame.
I remember you.
I'm Stephen Connors, Director of Operations and Safety for the Airport Authority.
I'm Connie Phillip, great to see you again, Director of Commercial Services.
Glenn Kirkon, Director of Information Systems and Technology.
Colin Vagabond, Director of Public Defender Relations.
Nice seeing you all.
I'm Darren Feathers, Director of Business Development.
Good seeing you.
I'm Todd Quan, Director of Financial Administration.
Okay, then we'll go on screen. We'll go Ann first.
Hi, Ricky. Welcome to the board. And Bob.
Hi, Ann.
Okay, and then Bobby.
Robert Brooks, first year term on the board. I'm kind of like Justin. I just no, not gonna blow myself up.
No one's like me, Bobby. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, Christopher Worley. I'm a magazine publisher for Private Jet Magazines and also a pilot. And I'm on my third 5-year appointment right now.
And Dawn.
Hi, Dawn Godshall. I'm the Executive Director of Community Action Lehigh Valley. I'm on my first term on the board. It is my favorite board that I'm on. And I welcome you to the board, Ricky.
Thank you.
And Ryan.
Great afternoon, everybody. Ricky, Director of Planning and Programming. Nice to see you again.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Again, Ricky, welcome, and glad you're part of the board. And you do have some big shoes to fill, so I'm going to turn it over to Tom in a second. We've got Jeff Matzkin, who had notified everyone. It was actually entertaining. He noted everyone verbally that he was retiring, and forgot to put it in writing, from what I understand. So you hung around for a while. Yep, absolutely. But Jeff is stepping down from the board, and he will serve just under 10 years. So with that, I turn over to Tom to our official thanks to Jeff for his time, his service, and dedication.
Well, certainly it's my pleasure, Jeff. I've obviously known you since my prior roles here, working with you on a number of different committees. Jeff, just really such a soft-spoken gentleman. We don't hear a lot from Jeff very often, but I think about Jeff's experience long before we had Kaplan Kirsch providing guidance for us from an aviation council perspective. Jeff's background is in aviation law. And so Jeff was sort of our in-house expert and was able to coach us along the way through a number of issues over the years, and certainly provided a number of guidance for us in committee meetings and throughout board meetings as well. Certainly we talk about big shoes to fill. I'm not going to guess the size, Jeff, but certainly we certainly appreciate everything you've contributed, all the time that you volunteered here, and certainly we're a lot better for it. So we have a plaque here that commemorates your service and certainly thanks you for everything that you've done and time you've spent here. And we just wanted to say again, thank you.
Thank you. Well, as Tom said, I'm a lawyer, but I'll try not to talk too much. When I first was appearing before the county council for appointment to the board, one of the questions that was asked was, am I a masochist? And that was because back then we were battling a $25 million judgment, and there was tremendous pressure from the GA pilots to do something about the other airports. Well, we've battled back thanks to the staff and thanks to the members of the board. And we were better for it. And then came COVID. battled against COVID, came out the other side, we're better for it. I just want to thank everybody for their service, because you're public-spirited citizens doing what every public-spirited citizen should do, and that's giving back to the community and making the Lehigh Valley a better place to live and work. Thanks for everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Congrats and thank you. And now lunch. And now lunch.
Great. Sorry.
Well done.
That was a great reminder of where we came from and where we're headed. So thank you again, Jeff, very much appreciated. So we'll go into, we'll give it a couple seconds for Jeff to shake hands.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the February 27, 2024 meeting. They were posted via Novus Agenda. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Justin, second by Mike. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Into reports of committees, officers, and staff. First is the treasurer's report. Justin, turn it over to you.
I'll turn it right over to Todd for February 2024.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that weren't here yesterday, we're going to go through a quick review of our finances through February. First, we start out with where we kind of finalized our 2023, and we did have a bunch of adjustments. We ended up about 5.1, which is $931 less than what we gave originally, I believe in January. And a lot of that is just for some of these adjustments at the bottom, some of the additional pension adjustments, some of the adjustments for our settlement, and that grant reimbursement, which we talked about. So just kind of give you an update. Obviously, we did a lot better than what we did as far as budget, but again, just wanted to give you kind of our last, where we are. Our auditors are on site, so that's the number they're looking at this point. Well, we start out with our traffic. Year-to-date traffic's up about 4.5 versus our 2020, and our best traffic year-to-date since 2004. Again, you can see 5.3 versus last year. February, still not quite as good as it was in February of 2020, but we're off to a good start. Still not quite as high as what we had as far as budget, but we're getting there. I mentioned this yesterday in a meeting. We're going to start comparing our traffic versus 2023. We're out of the 2019 benchmark years. So this is versus last year. And you can see our throughput, which is actually everything that goes through TSA, was up 14.5 versus all airport about 10. And you can see our seats up 3.3, and everybody else's seats are more than double that number. And again, it shows that when we get the seats, we use them. And comparing us again to last year, where we are versus our peer, these are our airports based on size and location to other major hubs. We have these 10 for Ricky's benefit. These are the 10 airports that we use to just kind of benchmark ourselves. And a lot of them are still, you can see some of them are starting to recover some from COVID. They've not actually had as good of a jump as we had since 2019, but they're starting to pick up some steam.
Switching years makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it does.
The number, wow.
It does make a difference, but that's kind of where we are now, because we're out of the 2019, as I mentioned yesterday. Next year at this time, we'll be done of all of our cares. So cares will be a distant memory, and we won't be talking about it anytime. Hopefully we'll talk about it in a good way. Net income for February, we drew about $2 million, or we actually recorded $2 million. The actual money didn't come in until March, but That 2 million actually throws to the bottom line, again, had a budget there, so that's good. I did mention that, our snow has been a challenge this year so far, and I'll talk about that some more, but we're ahead of budget so far. It's early. I never get too excited until we get a little later in the year, but I'd rather start off on a good note than on a bad note. This is where we are year to date. Again, you can see, like I mentioned, we're almost 600,000 to the good versus our budget. Some of that's timing, but, a big part of that is we talked about some of our depreciation and some of those items that were moved last year, which I mentioned earlier, and some of our interest income, which is a little ahead of where we were. But those are below the line, and some of the other stuff is probably timing. But again, we're ahead of where we budgeted, despite 444,000 of snow expenses, which is 87% of our whole year's budget. So no more snow for the year, and we'll call it good.
And that includes the beginning of next winter. Yeah.
Mike said, of course, he's gonna pay for it if we actually have snow. He's good.
I didn't say that.
Are you sure?
I did.
Are you sure? Okay, just checking. And breaking it down, we always break it down first, personnel versus non-personnel. And our personnel cost is actually pretty close to budget. Our salaries are actually a little over budget, but our expenses, because it's a lot more overtime in there, but we don't have as many headcounts. You see, it's some of the benefits are not as much as what we budgeted. But overall, we're -1, up 6, still pretty high versus last year. And you can see the numbers, again, even on the non-personnel, pretty significantly versus last
You
year.
can stay on this one for a second, Todd. We've talked about this a couple of times in regard to personnel costs. We budget as if all positions are filled on January 1st. That normally gives us more of a cushion,
Correct.
actual versus budget, than we're seeing now. And that's because we are not fully staffed, we're a lot closer to it. We also have some more part-time staffers, which are higher hourly rate.
Correct.
So we normally have a little bit more of a gap here in terms of budgetary performance than we do. We talked about that as we laid out the '24 budget, and we're seeing the impact there. So we're not going to have the cushion that we normally.
Correct. And for this year, we didn't, a lot of the positions are in there as a 1-1, but some of them were budgeted systematically throughout the year. But you're right, a lot of them were budgeted early. And again, a lot of that's due to some of the snow and some of that. But again, it's been a long time since we've been that close to where we are in budget. That's kind of been a cushion for us, which is kind of a sign of the times right now. As the economy gets tougher, people are not going to leave more stable jobs. They're going to stick around a little longer. And this is kind of what we talked about yesterday on our cash flow. It's a little bright, but I think it's kind of gives an indication where we are. That 208, you see that dotted line up there, that's our pure average. And again, that's a little dated. That's from 2022. We haven't got the 2023 data yet. We're trying to get to a total reserve of 180 and just make it kind of transparent of what makes up that 180. That O&M, we kind of start from the bottom, kind of, really, in my mind, what's most important, and then we got to go from there. Red meaning, hey, let's not, that's the most critical, and then going up, yellow, and so forth. But the red one there at the very bottom is 61 days of O&M, or what we always refer to as bond, which is operating and maintenance, but that's what we typically refer to as our bond reserve. And the way the covenant reads is that's supposed to be as of 12/31. We've been doing this regularly every month, so we're ahead of it. We're not thinking of it as just one point in time. It's a regular thing that we review, so we're ahead of it there. The next one is our R&R, which was a board one, which is renewal and replacement, 500,000. Now, when we make this line, that's probably the only one. There's two of them that are going to change month to month, or should I say year to year, because that 73,000 is this year's number. So if that number goes up to 75, 80, whatever the number is, all these numbers are changed, with the exception of the R&R, because that's a flat 500,000. So what will happen is that number will go down, but the other numbers will pick it up, because that's that additional reserve that we have down there will pick up, but it will all total to 180. Then we have what John likes to refer to as the Eddy Reserve, the contingency reserve, which is 5% of our operating expenses for the year, which is approximately 18 days. Our current number that we have is a 60-day on top of that, which gets us up to 140 46, and that's that yellow line there. And then we're talking about an additional reserve of 34, which will take us all the way up to that red line. And again, this is just so we can bring it for discussion, so everybody's aware. Because again, if you get below a certain point, you want to make sure that everybody's in agreement that that's where we are. Because cash, as John indicated multiple times, is king, especially when you're going through tough times. And it's the type of thing that you can't change overnight. Like, so if we don't have a running start on it, it's not like, hey, I think I've mentioned multiple times, we had 3 days cash on hand. How many years has it taken us to get back to a number where we can breathe? And part of the reason that we can talk about this reserve number is where we are on the unrestricted cash up there. You know, we're over 300 now, so it's easy to look at it. But if we were at 150, that would be harder for us to even think about doing that. So the fact that we are 308, and that 308 is unrestricted cash, so that's after restricted cash. So we have certain things that are earmarked for certain projects. AIP only can be used for AIP. Boarding bridges, it can only get grants or something to give us the money. It can only use it for those things. So those are not included in these. These are kind of what's left over that's not earmarked for a particular project. And the reason I'm kind of talking about this more, I know we have something.
Well, I'm actually going to, Frank, if you're okay with it, I'm going to usurp your committee.
I think this is the discussion, right?
Yeah.
But I was just going to jump right.
There's no sense in having it twice.
Yeah, so I just leave it up there as we're talking about this.
Yep.
So
Or
just
you want to finish up your report here, then we'll come back to this and
that was actually that last part there, but I think I left.
Okay.
Then I'll push it back. So you can look at it again. Any questions? Again, it's early on. We're having, we're ahead of budget. No major concerns. Knock on something. Last time I said that was in 2020, so I try not to say it. So I'll push this back so we can have it, but I guess we got to vote first.
Sounds good. Actually, do we have any other questions on the report before we come back to the cash reserve discussion?
I'll move to accept the financial report for February.
Motion by Mike, by a second by Frank. Any discussion or questions on the financials report? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, in terms of the unrestricted cash on hand, I'm going to put it, since this has been an issue that I've been driving pretty much forever, I'll put a motion on the table in terms of what we discussed yesterday. I'll ask for a second, then we'll open up for discussion on this point. I make a motion that LNAA evaluate unrestricted cash on hand projections on a monthly basis, and if LNAA is projected to fall below 180 days unrestricted cash on hand, the board will review the uses of cash and potential sources of cash to determine whether the board needs to take any specific actions. So I'd ask for a second on that, and then we'll open it up. Second by Frank. Okay, for those that were not part of the conversations yesterday, this comes out of the 60 days cash on hand that we've been measuring forever. It's been a fairly long period of time. We wanted to make that discussion more meaningful, and we always want to manage our cash. We always want to make sure that we've got sufficient cash on hand to cover operations. In particular, because the days cash on hand is 73,806 per day in terms of the burn rate, is almost $20,000 higher than it was just a few years ago. So, fact of the matter is, costs have gone up. Things are more expensive. People are more expensive. That's one of our largest costs. We've got large projects in the future in regard to cargo operations, potentially on the north side of the airfield and the parking deck. So we've got several large things, which to me makes cash management even more important. It's one of the board oversight matters, and also I wanted to put in a resolution form a trigger. It does not require us to do anything. And I want to emphasize that. It doesn't require specific action to be taken. It requires that potential actions be discussed here and a decision as to if we are going to do anything. I'll use as an example, one thing that could run down cash days on hand is we don't know when we're going to be getting the RCAP grant. My bet is 2029, but I could be off by a year or two. That could and will drive down cash on hand because we will have to pay bills in advance of that grant coming in, and that will happen with other grants. So we may, as we have those discussions, decide we don't need to do anything because the situation will have something that will rectify it in the relatively near future that we can track. So I want to emphasize, it's not a requirement that action be taken. It's a requirement that a discussion take place at this table to make sure that we remain on top of it. Todd was here, Tom was here, a few others were here in the dreary days of 3 days cash on hand. We're never going to get that bad. but we want to make sure that we are managing one of the most important aspects of the operation, that's being able to fund ourselves. So with that, I'll open it up for any additional discussion. We had a good dialogue yesterday. For those who weren't here, you want to go back and look at the tape. It's posted on YouTube. Encourage the public to do that as well, but open it up to any and all discussion now. Frank?
So we will continue to represent this with both of those lines?
This will be how we'll present it going forward, if that works.
But the line at which we got to talk about it is 180 days cash on hand.
Reserve, no, correct.
And then, okay.
Other questions, other comments? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Frank, do you have anything else for the Finance Committee?
No, I think we covered it. Thanks.
Then Justin, back to you for Business Committee.
All right, Darren, you can take 1 and 2 here. You can start with the air carrier incentive program, please.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We did discuss this in pretty in detail yesterday. Just updating our air carrier incentive program that we last updated about 18 months ago. FAA came out with a new policy for incentive programs, so we basically just adjusted ours to reflect what's in the policy. The major changes gives us the ability to incentivize aircraft upgauging, so we can basically working with the carriers, hopefully get away from some of those 50 and 70 seat jets and look for bigger airplanes out of here, and we can provide some incentives for that. Also, seasonal service. Allegiant does a lot of seasonal service. Other low-cost carriers could potentially look at that. So again, just able to give them some incentives on that. And then the last one is just updating those target destinations that we had in there. You'll notice our original list, we had Denver and MCO on, and we've gotten service to both of those. So I think it kind of shows that it does work. That definitely helps us. So that's kind of the meat of it. Happy to answer any questions, but I think it's pretty straightforward.
Would entertain a motion to approve the Air Carrier Incentive Program amendment. Motion by Mike, second by Glenn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're good.
All right, thanks. So we'll move on to the next one. This is an update of our contract for our transportation network companies, basically at this point Uber and Lyft. Two major changes here, upping the per trip fee from $2 up to $2.50 per trip. That's for pickups and drop-offs. We did do some research with LNAA to see where the average was, and that $2.50 is pretty much average among other airports our size. Then the other one is just an update of our insurance requirements at the recommendation of our insurance broker. We sent the agreement out to them to take a look at, and these were the limits they recommended that we put in there. The rest of it is a totally new agreement, but the rest of it is really just the format of the old agreement was kind of wonky and not easy to work with, so we just had them recreate something a little more standard that follows our standard form for our contracts. So, yes, sir.
So this is for Uber?
Uber, Lyft, and there's a new company that we're talking to. They're not permitted currently here, but a company called GoVish, which is based out of Philadelphia. They're a startup, and they're all working, I believe, around the city of Philadelphia. I don't know if they're doing the airport there yet, and I know they are permitted at Harrisburg Airport. So they've reached out to us about permitting. We're certain. Oh yeah, we're definitely looking. They actually have the agreement. They're reviewing it. So hopefully we'll have a third option here at some point in time soon.
How does it work with a company like that if they bring someone here now?
If they were to try and come here, yeah, we would honestly. They could be doing it, and we'd have to find them basically.
Right, you'd have to catch them, right?
Yeah, which is kind of how it started with Uber and Lyft, to be honest. And then eventually we found ways to track and find them and things. And they typically, like I said, they approached us. This company approached us about coming here, so they want to do it. They want to permit it. They understand they can't do it without. So
Talk briefly about the geofence system that we have in place to answer Justin.
Yeah, basically right now the airport is geofenced. So right now, like for Uber and Lyft, every time they come on site, it trips the geofence. We know they're here. They make the drop off or the pickup. We work through AAA, that's the American Association of Airport Executives. They are the clearinghouse for all this. They track it. They invoice the TNCs. And then we get our money through AAA for the program. So they do this at a ton of airports. Right. So that's how they do it. It's all through their app is set, so they can't come on site. So the new company will have to do the same thing when they start. Once they're permitted, they'll work through the same way.
Yeah, I remember you explaining that before. I just, like, what stops that new company from just doing it now?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, to be total, we'd have to find them.
Right.
We'd have to find them.
And then when we do, though, that's.
When we did, then we would do our best to shut it down, but I mean, again, could they sneak on and off without us? Yeah, unless you're gonna be out there patrolling constantly, you know, but like I said, they did come to us saying, we wanna do this, so I think they wanna do it the right way.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the TNC rideshare agreement. Motion by Glenn, second by Frank. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carried.
Thank you.
I see Ryan on the screen there.
Yeah, he should be joining us remotely.
Yep. Afternoon, everybody.
You want to take the design consultant?
Sure. All right, thanks, Justin. So we talked about this yesterday at committees as well. We're looking for approval for a parking structure design consultant that was selected through the RFQP process. Just kind of a quick background with that process. We do that for any projects where we might get federal or state funding to go through that component. But really, at the end of the day, we received 6 consultants that submitted a proposal back in November. Working internally and with our program manager, we shortlisted the list of firms to 3. March 19th, last week, we had a in-person presentation with the panel with Justin, Jim, and Don. So thank you for your time with that. Some LNAA staff, as well as a member from Cedric from ADCI from our consultant team. A lot of deliberation, good presentations, discussion, but ultimately we score each of the firms based on the same list of pre-provided questions that they all responded to. But you can see the 3 firms that we shortlisted: AECOM, IMEG, and Walker. Again, after those presentations, discussions, deliberation, and scoring, AECOM was ranked highest among the 3 firms. And really, at the end of the day, both firms would have accepted the consultant agreement. They had some requests and changes, which we either agreed to or did not agree to, again, working with the solicitor. But at the end of the day, the group really thought that AECOM had overall more experience with LNAA. For the last 5 years, we've been working with them with our on-call contracts. And the team that they have working locally as well with permitting was a big plus, really taking that, that to the next level. And they also teamed up with a leading parking consultant, THA, who's actually done some work here locally as well, which again is also a big plus. So really the next steps with this is getting the contract executed, doing some pre-design scoping meetings, confirming site selection, as we talked about yesterday as well. And then, definitely more to come, but kind of the first step in the process would be approving AECOM as that consultant to design the parking structure.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. I'd entertain a motion to approve AECOM as the parking structure design consultant. Motion by Frank. Second by Mike. Okay, I'll open it up for discussion. And to start discussion, I'd like to ask Don and Justin, since you served with Ryan in this process, if you could speak first, anything that you feel the board should know in terms of the discussions and the bidders on the contract.
I'll start. I think Ryan summed it up pretty well, but I think there was a consensus in the room when the 3 left that, 2 of them were definitely, in our view, above the other one. And I think it was a really hard decision, but at the end of the day, just the presentation itself made us feel very comfortable with the product that we're going to receive. I don't know how else to say it. I think Ryan summed it up very well, but I am extremely comfortable with them doing the project, the consultant.
Don, do you have anything you'd like to contribute as well? I think we might have lost Don. Okay, we'll come back. Open it up to the table for any discussion, any additional questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to a motion. Let's see, we have the motion, the second on the floor. All those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Ryan, thank you. Justin, Don, thank you for your contributions in this effort as well. It's greatly appreciated. Justin, anything else for the business committee?
Nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Executive Committee, just one item to discuss. I'll actually turn it over to Larry Hemberger for a nominating committee update.
Perfect. If you were here yesterday, I apologize for the redundancy, but it's, since we met last time, the committee was elected and gathered, and then we have 3 people who are on the nominating team, which would be Frank, myself, and Justin. And we do have some candidates that have come forward, and it has to be an officer. So we vote in April, and that'll be the conclusion of that next month.
Okay, thank you. Good to hear that we have some people willing to step up. If anyone would like to put their name into the ring as well, please let Larry know. Also, you have the opportunity to nominate live at the meeting. We'll ask for nominations at that point as well. So, Larry, thank you. Frank, Justin, thank you for your efforts in that regard as well. Okay, Director's Report. Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Todd reported, good month of February. As we look at March, as we're wrapping up the month, nationally, checkpoint throughput at airports across the country is up just about 7.5%. Here at ABE, up about 10% through March, so still a little bit ahead of average there. When we look at our scheduled seats for March, we were up about 8.5%. April looks like we'll be up about 6.5%. So still seeing, again, more seats than last month as we look month over month. Domestically right now, April seats are up about 4.7%. Scheduled seats, I should say, are about 4.7% for April. So again, still seeing that continued recovery, more seats coming back into the marketplace, and certainly happy to see them here. In terms of our what's happened since our last meeting back on February 27th, February was actually National Canned Food Month. So we had a donation drive here at the Airport Authority. We collected 266 pounds of food for the Second Harvest Food Bank. So we were excited that the staff really jumped in to help out there. On March 6th, we had a Fear of Flying seminar that was well attended. Our next one is scheduled for Tuesday, June 18th. More information to come on that in terms of registration, but those continue to be very popular, and people are traveling from far and wide, out of state even, to come to those. So always excited to keep adding more of those. On March 7th, our police department here at the Airport Authority presented a $1,300 check to a foundation. That's for Pete's Sake. It's a cancer respite foundation as part of the No Shave November. Our department looks a little bit more ragged, but as part of that, they do raise money for a great cause, and we're always excited to share that with the foundation. On March 13th, we were at Freedom High School's career fair over at the Bethlehem School District. And on March 15th, we were at Parkland School District for Springhouse Middle School for their STEAM Expo. So it was great to be there. March 19th through 22nd, a number of folks were at our Customer Experience Symposium out in Denver with AAE. I know Connie was part of that group, and also Paula Bonstein from our Customer Experience group was there as a panelist, really talking to a lot of folks about how you build good customer experience teams. So throughout that, I know we've had a number of staff. I think Darren, Connie, I haven't seen much of you because you've been traveling so much at conferences, but appreciate all the work they're doing to get great information back, and also sharing information with our stakeholders. Upcoming events. April 22nd through the 26th, we'll have our next TSA PreCheck open enrollment event. That will be in our overflow lot. They'll be using their RV for that registration, so we'll have some information. I don't think it's out online yet, Colin, so probably later this week, early next, you'll be able to register for TSA PreCheck if you're interested. April 22nd through the 26th, the same week, is National Volunteer Week. We'll be recognizing all of our volunteers and throughout the programs, including Sherman, who we always appreciate volunteering here. Always a crowd favorite. So April 25th, Take Your Child to Work Day. It's always a fun day here at the airport to see lots of little ones running around and learning all there is to learn here. And then April 27th, Steve Connors and his team will be busy with our every 3-year FAA required triennial emergency plan full-scale exercise. Everybody suits up, gets in their gear, and we run through a great emergency exercise. All our mutual aid responders, close to 100 people involved in these exercises every 3 years. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of effort that goes into this from the team. I know yourself, Jennifer, put a lot of work into this. So thank you for all that. And I think that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Is this, what, you get a score on this one, the safety?
So this, we won't actually get an evaluation from the FAA on. They certainly check to confirm that the exercise is done. In certain cases, they're also welcome to attend the exercise. But this isn't, you're probably thinking of our annual certification inspection, and we do in fact get scores on those, so.
I'd just like to add that yesterday, the 25th, Tom made a presentation to the Chamber Board of Governors, an airport update. I got a couple comments afterwards. What a great presentation you gave, and I said always, he always does, so thank you for that. It was a good part of the meeting.
Yes, yeah, I hope I didn't run too long there, but a lot of good information to share.
I'm standing right behind.
With the hook.
It was okay.
If you're running too long, you look at the end of the table and see Tony doing this.
Yeah.
Then you know you're running too
Then you
long.
know.
I typically get as soon as I take
Yeah,
the
but
mic.
nobody does that to Tony.
Oh, yes, we have. Oh, yes, we have. We'll tape a few, Mike. There are more than a few in
So,
that.
a really good presentation. People,
Great.
good people in the room that didn't know, and there's certainly a lot that did, that have been through, so.
Great.
Okay.
Love to share the info.
Other questions or comments for Tom? Okay, Tom, great report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, solicitors report. Attorney Marcon.
Just a few items of note. My office is working on a special events permit and just, that has been in place, but we're just updating the terms there, just giving that a kind of maintenance review. In the Westchester stormwater case, recall that our case against the city continues to be stayed pending the outcome of the Westchester matter. Oral argument has been ordered to be scheduled at the Pennsylvania Supreme Court level. So stay tuned, there will be an argument date set soon on that, and so that case will be moving forward. And then as far as the connector project update, I would defer that to executive session as that gets into matters of legal strategy and advice.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Attorney Marcon?
On the egregious stormwater
Tax.
tax. If that hearing, is there a drop dead date by which they have to have those arguments?
No, it's just the court's schedule.
It'll be whenever they schedule it, okay.
And how many years have we paid it now?
It's been paid under protest, so
4 years?
300 grand?
Is it 5?
Wow.
Yeah, it's at least 5.
yeah, it's about that amount.
300,000?
Well, if it's 5 years, it's what, 75 a year, so that's.
375.
Yeah, Ricky, for your edification, Allentown imposed what they call a stormwater management fee on Queen City Airport, which would add up to about $75,000 a year for us. We believe it's a tax, not a fee, and we're exempt from that taxation. So we filed suit 5 years ago, and we agreed with Allentown to stay our case pending resolution of the case down in Chester County.
Yeah, which is the exact same issues,
Yep.
and now that the Supreme Court has it, it would be whatever they decide is precedential on our case. So the resolution of the Westchester case will most likely resolve the LNAA's case against the city as well.
And we continue to strongly believe, as Mike had said, it is an egregious tax. It is not a fee. So we can spend a couple hours on that if you like. Okay, any questions for Attorney Marcon? Before we go into executive session, does anyone have any new business to bring before the board today? Okay, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion.
Motion by Justin, second by Glenn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the subject motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, motion carried. Colin, let us know when we're out.
Ricky, you made the minutes, your first meeting.
I'm honored. That was the award we got in the Northeast chapter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I accomplished something.
Report that after we come out.
Okay, we are back out of executive session. Attorney Marcon, could you summarize, please, the content of executive session?
Yes, sir. The board went into executive session to discuss potential litigation regarding the connector project and legal advice and strategy. There were no decision-making, deliberations, or votes taken during the session.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Glenn. We're good. Thank you, everyone. We will see you at next month's meetings, which are the committees meet on.
Put me on the spot here.
Yes, I am.
I see that.
25th, April 23rd.
April 25th. So we have April 25th, 9:30 a.m. for the committee
9
meetings
o'clock.
here.
It'll be 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, not 9:30.
Oh, man, I'll never beat Glenn here. 9
We're going to be discussing pensions, or pension
I can never
update.
get up early enough.
Everyone, the committee meetings, it's a topic that's near and dear, I think, to Glenn and I, the pension update.
Yep.
So we always
So
have.
that's why we're meeting a little bit earlier than normal on the 25th.
Yeah, it'll look a lot better than last year because the market was a lot better than last year.
Yeah.
And then board meeting is on
The 30th?
the 30th.
Yep, last
And that will
Thursday.
be noon here.